2025. You're listening to the While We Still Can podcast, where we talk about Missouri news, national news, sometimes international news, and whatever else we're really in the mood to discuss. And we're really glad to have Anthony Andrews back with us today. He's had a hell of a week, folks. Hell of a week.
Do you ever sleep, Anthony? That's really what our main question was.
Well, the funny thing is I live a normal life. I have a normal job. I also actually have more than one, thing going on, and I keep myself busy. Obviously, all of this stuff is more free time stuff or just downtime stuff. But yeah, it's a little insane. But I do sleep perfectly well at night, actually.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, and just to remind everybody, Anthony has a special talent to pull together information from various medias, social media, connect all the dots, and then succinctly share with people what he's found. And sometimes people don't seem to like that very much.
Well, we live in a world where, we put everything out there. I think I mentioned in the past, terms and conditions are our downfall because nobody actually read them on anything. When you look at what happened with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, I just posted that most people don't know that.
I saw that.
Yeah, Palantir worked side by side with Cambridge Analytica while they were mining Facebook stuff. But we won't get into that right now. It's just, all that stuff is out there, in the public space. And I just happen to have a knack of going through and finding different things that connect literally sometimes even to the day of world events connected to high profile people that nobody knows about. When they're exposed, people get a little frustrated and angry about it. So I have one particular person who has spent a lot of time recently coming after me and trying to dox me, told people to report me to my local police department because of me looking at their social medias, and has in fact actually told other people to close their accounts or block me on various social media accounts before I'm able to go look at their stuff. So, I'm a big believer that, if you don't think all of our information's out there in the world right now, you're naive. I mean, we all are under some sort of general surveillance because we have phones in our hand that we carry around, and unless you're protecting yourself, you're not, you're exposed, period. How many times have we
That's so true. Yeah. I mean, we do it voluntarily, like you say, with our phone. With those of us that have like a Alexa in our home, we've given it all over voluntarily.
Under his eye. Yes, we have.
How many times do you talk about something and next thing you know, it's an ad on your phone? I mean,
every day, all the time.
So
they got me down to a T. Yes, they do. Algorithm. Yeah.
I just speaking of algorithms, I'm sure you just saw this too. I just tried to message a reporter on X, and I was immediately locked out of my account. The moment I send to their open DM, I wasn't a follower of them, but the moment I pressed send, X locked me out and made me authenticate again, which has happened now, I think 3 times this week. I've been locked out of X for unknown or various reasons.
So is it telling you, hey, don't pull this string? Hey, I mean, it kicked me off for telling Greg Abbott to roll off a cliff. So
yeah,
I got locked out. So So
it's interesting. So it's obvious. When Elon took over X or Twitter at the time, one of the things he said was the most important job while he was getting rid of people was coding. And, that's what it's all been about, is coding and, this Grok and everything else that we're all using and letting them have, nothing's free.
Right.
So everything we're doing is out there. So, I have this woman who, feels threatened by me, so to say, even though she was actively targeting me. You've seen the stuff. I actually have it in writing where she says, yes, I targeted you. Yes, I deceived you. Yes, I did this and I did that. And when you look at her own history and what she had done to the wife of her ex lover, Charles McGonigal, she had gotten a restraining order against her because of attacking the wife on Facebook and calling her and all this other stuff. So now this woman is doing the same thing online to me, doxing me, putting pictures up that she found, which, again, I'm not that concerned about, and telling people to call my local PD because she did a background check on me and she knows all my history, and obviously telling stupid lies about that. Again, none of that I'm worried about. if she found the real good stuff, we'd be talking about that right now.
Yeah.
But that'll all fix itself. The funny thing is, and I even said I would hope that somebody kind of comes after me in a legal way, because it'll only raise the attention to everything, because nothing I'm doing is
correct
against anybody other than trying to expose the people that are doing bad things to us and the country.
And as they say, discovery would be lit. Right?
Yeah, discovery would be lit, because, we could talk about Charles McGonigal, which is her ex-lover. We could talk about Rudy Giuliani, which is one of her best friends. We could talk about Mike Flynn, which is a good friend of hers, and Roger Stone, all the top worst people out there. And, supposedly that's her reason for coming after me, is because I've been talking bad things about those good friends of hers. Well, if those are your friends, Lord help us all.
Watch your back.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Well, the end's coming anyways if you ask them, the coming of Christ. So that's why they got to be real shitty before he comes.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. And they think that they're going to just be able to say, I accept the Lord and please forgive my sins and be
that
sent
makes
to
me
heaven.
Want to just... You know how many times I've been told I'm going to hell? And I'm like, oh, how Christian of you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, but
why?
And according to them, all you have to do is right before you
say
die.
Jesus is the Son of God.
Jesus is the Son of God. Yes. So do whatever bad things you want. No, live a good life and you're going to heaven. Treat people well and you're going to heaven. Do the right things and you're going to heaven. I don't care what
Trump
else.
was talking about it. Trump is talking about probably not going to heaven. So his time is
what
near.
What was up with that? What did he say? I'm not doing so hot. And,
I'm not at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fair statement. Yeah.
Fair statement.
Well, unless it's who's going to hell, then he's right up there.
Well, and the hypocrisy of all these people is, one thing is, freedom of speech.
It's astounding.
She's coming after me because of my free speech and ability to talk about things. I don't know how much you read that she wrote, but one thing she said was, she reported me to the Secret Service because we talked about, eliminating the Secret Service or something like that. She talked about me talking about Epstein and her being friends with Epstein. I don't even remember that. I asked her to send me a screenshot. She never did.
Yeah, because I don't think that was in there. But
But she also, the whole... I'm looking to eliminate the presidency or do different things. Remember, we talked about, what needs to happen.
Different types of government.
Yes, different types of governments and how we need to reflect on what we're dealing with now. Once we fix this, how do we move forward to make sure we don't deal with these types of things again? That's real talk in a democracy. It has nothing to do with going after anybody. And who's little old me that's going to take over the country?
And our 60 followers. Oh my God.
Yeah. Real powerhouse here, I tell you.
I hope she liked it. I just want to say hi to her when she listens to this episode.
Yes.
Girl, you can be happy too. Like, you don't have to troll everybody and be unhappy. We could take Prozac like the rest of us and help us fix it, babe. Like, I want that for you.
Get some counseling and work out those rage issues. Don't take it out on other people. Yeah. You deserve to be happy too, friend.
Yeah. Just quit making it suck for the rest of us. Shit. Well, Josh Hawley, that goes for you too, Josh Hawley.
I keep forgetting you're right there in the center of it all in Missouri. He was my senator. He just losing my mind because he doesn't even live there, right?
He doesn't spend much time here. That's my favorite.
Do you remember that? What was that movie where they say, I thought they flew him in for games. What movie was that?
Oh, Mean Girls, I just remember he doesn't even go here. And I see those signs all the time when we're protesting. There's always one that's like, he doesn't even go here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But
it was the movie I'm thinking of is when the girl spilled wine on her mom's suede outfit and she had to replace it, but it was $1,000 outfit. So she joined up with what's his name, who was riding a lawnmower. This has gone south. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but maybe one of our... Maybe
Can't
Allison
Buy Me
does.
Love. It's Can't Buy Me Love. That's the name of it.
I was going to give Allison a chance.
What's his name?
Yeah, we're aging ourselves here because that's
a little bit. Yeah, it's probably during the Reagan administration, but we won't talk about that.
The beginning of the end.
Yeah. So Anyway, as far as that stuff goes, I'm not that concerned about it. Actually, I encourage the continuation of the saga because it's only raising the level of awareness of other people,
Right.
Just like
and
when Artem
and we were
Pushkin-
talking about what we do have is numbers. Like if everybody that understood what was going on or was remotely paying attention spoke up, they can't stop that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's, people getting messing up the gears of ICE or, just turning out to physically be a barrier of so many people they can't really do their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And the word job's carrying a lot of weight there, but you know what I mean? Their assignments. The people can overcome this.
Their terrorism.
One more thing before we go into your deep dive here, Anthony. We had a rally last weekend, and one of the little statements I read at it was about consenting to be governed. Like, we forget that we vote and give consent to be governed by those governing us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not giving you my fucking consent to this.
No. Well, no, and the prisoners have taken over the penitentiary pretty much, and
100%. Yeah. And so I was just like, when you think about it in that simple of a terms, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, enough of us are saying no.
Mm-hmm.
I do not give you consent to do this. No.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is they don't. Do you think Trump ever worried about consent, whether it was political or sexual?
As if, no.
It's that simple.
But for something to happen, people have to go along with it.
Yes.
And so if enough people are like, no, because we forget that we elected you. This is what? No. And so I just forget that we can just be like, no. And yes, people are going to get hurt. People are going to go to jail. But they cannot continue on like this if enough of us are like, actually, no, we'll throw a sandwich at your head.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, and we talked about it before, is it doesn't have to be violence. It doesn't have to be anything that we do that's going necessarily, illegal. It can be peaceful. It can be different ways that we throw sand in the gears like we talked about before. Mm-hmm. And but we need to rise as in much larger numbers, get people to see and understand. I still see, I saw pictures this morning. I have a niece who's very involved in the local politics, and she does a lot of the protests and stuff and different with a couple organizations and some politicians. And I saw pictures from an event they just had, which was about women's rights. And there's still this huge disconnect. I love all of our old friends who
older civil rights people.
They used to, and I appreciate everything they're doing because they're the ones that remember what was going on in the 60s and the 70s, and in some cases even the 50s. So, they're out there doing the right thing for us. But there's this huge disconnect in everything else.
I know. It was 105 degrees last weekend when we hosted a rally at the Capitol. And it was all people, like, they fought in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm,
and they're going down. Like, seriously, we had 2 ambulances. Like, no, but it was that hot. Like, it was bad. But they showed up. And so I'm telling all these young people, I'm like, I know you don't know that this is fucking crazy, but these people have already almost died for you, right? So, like, it's your turn. Let's go.
Yep.
And I keep trying to I'm like the youngest person.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, we have a plan to bring one of those older ladies that's lived through some shit on and just have a conversation about what it used to be like before, you could get a
bank account
or a credit card or buy something without a man's signature, because the young people now, just that's so foreign to them. They can't imagine losing that right because they've always had it. But
well, they about to find out.
Fixing to find out.
Well, that's the unfortunate thing, is they're so complacent. And, we've got this attack. I will continue to use the word attack on the minds of young males,
absolutely,
white males.
Incel movement.
There's this misogynist organization that, there's this operation, misogynist operation, where they're feeding, Joe Rogan was a big part of it. And, I have
Absolutely.
issues with Joe Rogan. I think you guys probably do too. Just because of the things that he has allowed to happen in his show, he kind of walks a fine line, and every once in a while he has the right people on. And sometimes you think he's going to finally move the right direction with things, and but then all of a sudden he'll pull RFK Jr. back on the show or something.
Yeah,
like
there's
right.
microchips in the vaccines.
Right.
Yes,
yeah, I used to listen to Joe Rogan a lot, like regularly, and I would skip the ones with the the MMA guys or whatever, but he would have really interesting authors and journalists and people that were in the thick of it around the world. And Bernie Sanders was on once or twice, but I feel like when he switched over to, what was it? Is it Spotify? Or, I feel like things changed. And I'm like you, like he lost me when he brought Alex Jones back on. Okay. Because I could understand the concept of letting this individual expose himself to people and really show people how nuts he is. Okay. I'll give you grace for that. But to bring his ass back.
That gives him validity. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Well, and that's all part of the operation. I mean, where's the follow the money is, what we always say. And, and a lot of it leads to one place, as we know.
Yes, it sure does. Yeah. We don't want Allison to call on us again.
But there is value in having a long conversation with people, beyond a soundbite. And, but we need somebody in the media that does something similar to what he does, but is a healthy masculine person.
Yes. Healthy masculine. That's the biggest challenge right there. What Newsom is doing is great, though. I mean, I've always said,
Daddy.
I've always said that, fight fire with fire. And, we were always for years, let's not bring ourselves to that level. We're not that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Let me on your media team, Newsom. I can. Let me on, babe.
And my son lives in California with his family, and that means something to me that he's at least in a state that has some power in the
balls.
Some balls in all this. So
and economic power, right?
Yes, a lot of economic power.
Yeah.
And, I think that can be used to our advantage. Newsom knows that, and in time,
he's smart.
The steps will be taken. So Pritzker the same, and there's a reason everybody. I drive through rural Illinois periodically doing various things, and I see all kinds of Pritzker sucks signs out there, because that's just the mentality in the red parts of our state, and we truly are a big mix here. You've got Chicago and areas like where I'm at here, which are blue primarily, although we're right across the river, from Iowa, but we are in a good place here, no matter what they say. They just
you feel safe.
Fox and everything else. So, but it's been an interesting week with that. And like I said, I'm not worried. Then you have the Zampoli stuff that we were going to talk about.
Tell us more about that. I'm settling in here to listen to this. This sounds super interesting.
So I want to kind of give just a kind of a basic breakdown of him and what I found over the last couple of weeks, just because the more I look, the more questions come up. But just simply on the surface, Zampoli's relationship with Donald and Melania, and then subsequently what I found was his, direct business dealings with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, should literally be some sort of a smoking gun. There's several smoking guns in all of this, but, his proximity to the Trumps over time, and I think we know he keeps the people that know the most the closest, just like Walt Nada was behind him at the failed parade. You saw those pictures of Walt looking to see if it was time to change Trump's diaper or something. Because I think he's the guy that does it. So, Zampoli, is from Milan, Italy. He's Milanese. He came from a well-to-do family that owned a successful toy business that actually had patents to do some Hasbro toys and Star Wars toys. And so back in the day in the 80s, when that was so big, they were a very successful Italian company, toy making company. And when his father died when he was 18, it was left to him. And he really didn't like to do that. And he wanted to get into the world of modeling. I'm not sure what his relationship with Casablancas at the time was. John Casablancas, as we know, is another pedophile who is now deceased. He didn't commit suicide, but there are probably questions related to all of that and what happened when he died. Casablancas was the one that had encouraged Zampolli to get into the modeling industry. So that alone should be, red flag number one. This guy sold his business to Silvio Berlusconi, who became the corrupt prime minister of Italy, and then moved into model management where he found Melania. And, there's this vague time. People talk about Melania's disappearing years, the years that she disappeared, like about a 3-year period that nobody knew what was going on with Melania. I haven't been able to dig into that. It's been brought to my attention, 1985, when she was 15, she was still at home in Slovenia in her hometown. And then about 4 years later is when she ended up in Milan, doing high fashion modeling, working with Zampolli. And then Zampolli brought her to the United States, to New York City, and procured her Einstein visa. Just this little bit alone should get people to really start thinking in their head what was going on here. This guy who was connected to Casablancas sold his business to a corrupt prime minister, found Melania, brought her to the United States, and got her an Einstein visa. And, you don't have to be a stable genius to know that I doubt she would qualify for an Einstein visa in reality.
I just remember when she was holding the obituary upside down at Jimmy Carter's funeral, and they zoomed in on it, and they're like, is she pretending to read this upside down? I thought she had an Einstein visa.
Every action like that is intentional. It's part of their operation. I guarantee it. The upside down newspaper and any other thing, just like when I talked about Ghislaine Maxwell the last time, and the sitting at the table at the In-N-Out, and the book she was reading was about CIA spy lives. It's everything's always.
Wow.
They know.
They're dropping Easter eggs like Taylor Swift. I love it.
They have. Everything is a coordinated operation. We should have known it the day she wore that I really don't care
jacket
to go look at children, my immigrants. It's all none of it's a mistake. Even Donald's stupid ass misspells. The Kofifi, all of that is played up as a, it's an attention grabber. And in the middle of the actual important statement that he might be making that we're paying attention to, it gets everybody to focus on the fact that he misspelled
Kofefi,
or whatever word it was that was a word everybody knows. We all know when you're on your phones, it corrects it most of the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even though
do we know how Melania was discovered at age 15? What the circumstances were?
I don't know about the discovery at age 15. What I saw was that and again, I was digging into this a little bit more the last few days, but what we saw was she, at 15, was still home. At 16, she moved, apparently, to Ljubljana, a larger city, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, with her sister, to live in an apartment with her sister, and they both got into modeling. And this is where things get a little murky. I was even reading something yesterday because I've literally read everything that can be possibly found about Brina Naus online.
Yes.
And I've had to translate stuff, and there's various different, Slovenian interviews and Italian interviews and all Spanish interviews, because she does all these things in all these different countries now. And, they always go back to her history, and there's just little pieces that she drops here and there. But, when it comes back to her age, I read something about her birthday being October 20th, 1985. And it's questionable. Somebody was questioning if that was her actual birthday. They were saying she may have been born later or in more mid mid 1986, which would align with the time frame that Melania left her hometown.
For those 3 years?
Yeah, for those 3
Was that
years.
that 3-year period? Okay.
And there's one set of pictures from a Slovenian photographer that I've been sent, and I also found on my own, that show her, and she was, I think, 15 or 16 at the time, in these loose-fitting outfits. It's almost as if they're taking these modeling pictures, but it's making it look like they're hiding something underneath. And this is not an exaggeration. I'll post these pictures later just because we're talking about it. It literally looks like she's probably got a baby bump, but they're trying to put her into the modeling world. Again, this is stuff that's been sent to me. I'll show you online. You can come to your own conclusions about it. But this is all stuff that's out there. The question is, the October 20th date has to do something with Russia and something, and I'm sorry, I'll put it out there later, but it's a specific date having to do with Russia, and there was speculation as to that being used for her date, even though it was incorrect, because of what the importance of that date, that being used for her birthday, because of the importance of October 20th having to do with some sort of Russian history. But they were saying she was likely born maybe later or earlier in the year to mid-year 86 when Melania was 16 and away in that with her sister living in an apartment trying to get into the modeling world. And then eventually, I think it was about around 19 is when she went to Milan, and that's when she got with ID models with Zampoli. Then Zampoli brought her to the United States in the 90s. And then, everything else fell into place there. I think the interesting thing to look at on this timeline we're talking about, so she came to the United States in the 90s. She had a male roommate, Matthew. I've seen it one say Arabian, but another one says his last name's Atanian. So I think it is Atanian. He's a photographer. She was his roommate in New York City. I also found another roommate that she had in Milan that I was going to look into a little bit. She was, I think, a Swedish model who was very high profile, who ended up being a Playboy Playmate. So there's people that are out there that know things. It's just a matter of finding those people. So once she was in the United States, one of the first campaigns she had that was successful was that Camel campaign, where she was on in Times Square on a big billboard for a Camel campaign, and it was a little controversial, I think, because it said something on the line as "I have what you want" or something as part of the tagline of the Camel ad.
I got some cigarettes for you.
Yeah. So then she subsequently, we found this week that Michael Wolff said that during his interview with Epstein that Epstein slept with Melania a year before she met Trump.
Trump did.
Yeah.
Yep.
That in itself, tells you a little bit more that everybody should pay a little bit more attention to. If if they're not in the files and yada yada yada, we now know why all these files aren't being shown, because there's so much connected. They're not the Epstein files; they're the Trump Epstein files.
The Trumpstein files.
Yeah, Trumpstein files, and so she had a relationship of sorts with Epstein, and the speculation, again, all speculation, but it still becomes a mystery when you look, is about what happened at 15, which was
to Melania. And then you look at pictures of Brina Noss, who has the same last name as Melania did, and the timelines all line up, and they look, Brina, like if you did one of those little picture combiners of Jeffrey Epstein and Melania, I'm just saying for entertainment purposes only, that if you put those two pictures in, it would come up with a picture of Brina Noss. So, but again, with your own eyes, you can look it up on Anthony's Twitter. He has it very organized for you. But that's freaking crazy. So how deep does the Epstein Melania go? We need to know.
So just to get a bird's eye view again. So we're sitting here having this conversation about all this history about these individuals. For somebody that's paying absolutely no attention to this, and they say, so that was her past. Why should I care about that in 2025? What would you say to them to that question?
I would say because you have to look at the relationship that is carried on to literally today. We talked about Trump keeping the people that know his biggest secrets as close as possible. We have plenty of indication of that, and he puts them in positions of power or positions of pay where they will continue to get paid to be quiet. Zampoli subsequently in 2012 became a ambassador for the country of Dominica. I talked about that, I think, or no, I don't know if I talked about it here. I think I might have talked about it on the other show. And he was appointed as an ambassador for a different country. And so he goes around calling himself ambassador everywhere he goes and prefers to be called ambassador. But he has spent numerous New Year's Eves, Christmases, and 4th of July's as documented on both. He has 2 Instagram pages and his Facebook page at either Mar-a-Lago or the White House, front and center with Donald Trump and Melania.
So he's family for all practical purposes.
Family for all practical. And I even read somewhere that Donald Zach is a big advisor when it comes to Donald's foreign policy, just because of how worldly Zampoli is. And when you look at his Instagram and you look at his Facebook, he's got pictures of himself with, his very first picture he ever posted on Instagram was with Benjamin Netanyahu in 2014.
Yes. It's almost like he posts photos with very influential people, just almost like so he can use it as like, I don't want to say blackmail, but it's one of those no, I posted a picture of us together. Now you're in this circle.
Exactly. Yes. And, and he also has pictures with, celebrities. I mean, practically anybody you could think of and more, he has pictures with online. It's like his thing on his accounts is look at me with, and he titles the
powerful people,
bottom, all of these powerful people. And, what I've heard is when he first went to the White House with Trump and was, with Melania's friends, the politicians didn't like him, his raucousness.
It looks mobby.
Yeah, he's just mobby, and he was talking about, as part of the Kennedy Center, he wants to put a Cipriani's at the top because he's friends with the owner of Cipriani's, which is a fancy Italian restaurant in New York City, and what he was going to do as part of the board and for that. But, so this proximity in itself should raise a lot of questions, just given that history going back as it does. But we haven't even talked about the fact that in 2004, Zampoli with Jeffrey Epstein attempted to buy Elite Models owned by... was that the Casablancas one, or was that no, that was Casablancas, not Jean-Luc Brunel, who was Epstein himself. But Casablancas was in financial trouble and was trying to sell off parts of Elite to different parts of the world. And Epstein and Zampoli together as partners attempted to buy Elite Models. The interesting thing is the person who actually outbid them, I forget his first name, but his last name is Trump, but he's not related to the actual Trump. So it's just an actual coincidence in this stupid ass world. The guy who actually bought that is a Trump.
That is crazy.
Trump. So then as you move forward, you've got, right there, 2004 was literally the height of everything that was going on regarding Trump and Epstein and everything else. And here you've got Zampoli doing a deal or attempting to do a deal hand in hand with Epstein. That's right around the time the Trump-Epstein stuff was going on, where they were trying to bid for the Ryblov mansion that Trump ended up winning, and then that ended up leading to their fallout, not the whole steal. Well, now he says stealing girls from Mar-a-Lago. I mean,
like that's any better. Jesus
Christ!
United
States saying he broke up with Epstein because Epstein was stealing his underage girls. Come on, people, pay fucking attention. I'm sorry, but these are the words that are out there coming out of their...
He stole my towel girl who was 15. Yes. Rude.
How dare you? How dare you?
So in
That was
2004 was when all of this was going on, and here's Zampoli's right in the mix with Epstein doing these different things. Epstein and Trump are fighting over a Florida mansion deal, which the rumor is that there was an anonymous call that got Epstein arrested, and that was right before Trump won the bidding.
So can you tell me, when did Melania and Trump get together?
I think it was 1998 when they first met. It was either 98 or 99. They met at a Zampoli party. And I think I mentioned again, I'm sorry if
he was with a date. He was on a date with somebody else.
He was on a date with somebody else. And he even says that there was, there's an interview where he says he saw this woman next to the one that he was supposed to be dating, and it was Melania, and he kind of fell for her then. Now, the other thing I've read is that this was at the Kit Kat Club in New York. It was Zampoli having some event. And
pardon my interruption, but wasn't he still married to Marla Maples?
I'm not sure when they got divorced. He may have been married to Marla Maples yet. But I'm not 100% sure what their whole situation was.
That timeline.
We know none of that matters. Look at all the times he cheated on every wife and then some, throughout each marriage. So I don't, whether he was married or not, in his world doesn't really matter. But
it's fine.
So, so that was going down, and, then Epstein got arrested. Trump tried to distance himself from Epstein, socially or, for political reasons or whatever was happening. That was when Apprentice was going on. And, everybody says Apprentice was, them rebuilding Trump's image.
Yeah.
And
it's
just
literally a fucking TV show. Jesus Christ. Oh, God.
And a side note to that is, that's what Paul Manafort's job was when he went to Ukraine in 2004 and was hired by Oleg Deripaska and some other oligarchs, was to actually reinvent the image of Yanukovych, the Russian-backed presidential candidate.
Ukrainian.
Russian-backed Ukrainian presidential candidate. And Manafort's literal job was to reinvent him and make him, appeal to the masses and get voted in.
So I was just reading about that just in one of Craig Unger's books. Hang on.
And then Paul Manafort came over and was Trump's manager.
Yes. And
then got arrested for it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and the thing was, Paul Manafort was literally $100 million in debt when he worked for free for the Trump campaign. And for free. Yeah. in both the Mueller report and in Volume 5, the Senate Select Intelligence Committee, Volume 5, which Rubio was the chair for at the end of it when it was released, and Kamala was on that committee, along with others. It was stated that Manafort had Konstantin Kilimnik, who worked for him, but was also a known FSB agent, Russian intelligence agent, who worked for Manafort's company. He's the guy who was passing polling information to Oleg Deripaska leading up to the election. But Kilimnik, Manafort asked Kilimnik to talk to Oleg and see if his being part of the campaign and influencing Donald Trump's ability to win and all of his connections would make him whole.
Yes,
meaning
make him whole.
Of his debts,
Debt.
millions in debts. So he was working for free to erase millions in debts to Russian oligarchs. I don't think
so. For people that want to learn more about that history, Craig Unger's book, House of Trump, House of Putin, it's very well documented, and he's a guy that's been watching this for freaking decades. Yeah. So
we know he's just like, Jesus Christ, I tried to tell you people.
I told you.
Yeah. I talked to Craig briefly.
Yeah.
And,
we should have us all on one time because I bet you two would totally just.
But he's a great guy. I mean, he's done some amazing writing about all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another
thing
got
me hooked. Yes. Mm-hmm.
In this book, another interesting thing that I just can't help but shake my head and wish we'd gone a different direction. But, he was talking about how during that era in Russia, like the media manipulation wasn't necessarily to sway one side or the other, but it was to just flood the
zone with shit.
Flood the zone with total fiction, right? So nobody knew what was fact and what was fiction and what was real and what wasn't. And that was the goal. And my God, these same people have been doing the same thing in multiple different countries for
years.
A couple decades now.
Yeah.
We're just the latest victim of,
Well, and, I look at Ukraine as being the practice run, way back in the early
100%.
days with how the technology, how the misinformation, how all of that was working. Artem Klushin, who, I can go into great detail about. I call him my buddy because he hates me so much. But he was one of the very first people to create a troll farm and a bot farm for the Ukraine operation, and then that, of course, then led to him being directly involved in the U.S. operation, along with Konstantin Rykov and Maria Katasanova, which I've written extensive threads about on my old account, which has been nuked. I think I'm close to getting nuked, but I have a backup plan, so don't worry about that.
Okay, as long as you have a backup plan.
Yeah.
So, so leading to, when we're talking about Zampoli and his direct connections, now we know in 2004, him and Epstein tried to buy Elite Models. As you move forward in time, in 2012, Ghislaine Maxwell founded her Terramar Foundation, and he was on the board, appointed to the board of the Terramar Foundation, which has to do with saving the oceans and stuff. My personal opinion is that is all is all a cover for some money laundering of sorts, because most of what they do typically is. And he's still involved in oceanic type stuff, even though that foundation is now defunct. She closed it in 2019, a week after Epstein was arrested. That is a tell in itself, if you ask me. But Zampoli was on that board until 2019. And in 2019, we know Trump was president, Melania was first lady, and Zampoli was attending all those events at the White House, as I had mentioned. And he's documented on his own social media account that's free for everybody to go look at on Facebook.
Right.
There's two of them there. There's two of them on Instagram, and there's others. So please do so. Please come look for me too, just because apparently that's a thing, is come after me. But, so Zampoli then was in 2020, Trump elected him in December of 2020, or not elected him, appointed him as to the board of trustees for the Kennedy Center right before he left office. And Zampoli, what I've read, didn't know what he was going to do about staying in D.C. or moving to New York. And he ended up, that allowed him to stay in D.C. And eventually, when Trump got back in office in March of this year, Trump appointed him as a special ambassador to Italy for, not ambassador, but a special, my brain's not working right now, a specially appointed representative of global initiatives worldwide, focusing on Italy.
Which, of course, is where he's from originally, right?
Yes, that's where he's from originally. Now, yesterday, I wanted to talk about, I just found out that, I don't know how much we talked about Sergio Gore before. I think a little bit.
We did touch upon Sergio Gore in the White House and how his name is different now. And he
never got a background check.
Yeah, he's the guy who actually vetted every single person that's been hired by the White House. But he hasn't been vetted himself. And up until recently, it was unknown where his birthplace was. We know that his family was from Malta or moved to Malta at one point. I found out he was about 8 years old when his family moved to Malta from Russia. So he was born in Russia. His family moved to Malta. At some point, they moved back to Russia again, I believe. And then they moved to, I think it was Las Vegas. Yeah, I think it was Las Vegas is where the Gore family went to. But Gore, as of 2 days ago, was appointed as ambassador to India now. And I don't think
Really?
anybody.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that just this morning.
Yeah.
The hell?
So I don't know if that's a move to move him out of the position he's in right now. Trump tends to do that when people get in trouble. What happened with that Waltz guy? Isn't he an ambassador somewhere now after all that signal stuff went down?
Well, he's paying people off like favors for favors.
Well,
favors for quiet. Favors for,
Or Billy Long. He's headed out of the IRS and off to Greenland or Iceland or I think Iceland,
anybody that got and then in the first administration it was you get fired or leave the White House, then all of a sudden for his campaign.
Right.
They all were campaign and we're getting $15,000 a month. That was the thing. This whole $15,000 a month, there's multiple people. And again, if we followed the money, I would almost guarantee I could name at least 5 people that happened to. What's her name? Who was the woman from The Apprentice, the African American Omarosa? That was one of her things. I think she was getting paid $15,000 a month after her hubbub. So even the people that have falling out are given positions.
I feel like it's to keep people's mouth shut.
Yep, it's all about keep people's mouth shut. And the closer you are to knowing all of the stuff, like Walt Nada does and Zampoli does, the closer you are kept within his
Keep your enemies closer.
Keep your enemies closer.
Yeah. Well, I guess I wouldn't even call them enemies. It's more like just once you get so deep in the criming, you have to make sure everybody around you is implicated just as much because they can't say anything.
Exactly. And that's where we're at.
Everybody has so much compromat, but they also don't have shame. So I'm like, this shit must be really bad.
Well, yeah.
Well, and there have to be people in his orbit that are smart enough to make decisions, to keep somebody around with some intelligence, because we'd all know he's barely,
hanging on.
Normal intelligence.
Well, okay.
His IQ is on the line of challenged.
So I was looking up, his hand, HIPAA, I get it, your health, but also you're running the country and you're on the Epstein file. So I hate you. But his hand, you can see it. It's a monthly thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally almost to the day. You can hear him get all slurry about 3 days before. His hand looks like shit. And most of the dementia infusions are monthly. And so it's just I mean, entertainment purposes only, just looking at looking at chronological little things here and being in the medical field. Yeah, guys, he gets the infusion, then he's sharp, well, quote unquote sharp, for a couple days, can talk some shit, get him on TV,
sharpish,
and then say some dumbass shit.
Sharp adjacent.
And then, dude. And then you can see him in his little press things, and he's obviously keeping his hand away from the camera, the right hand that is puffy as fuck, like they infiltrated the shit out of it.
I feel like they could have blended that foundation a little better, too.
It looks like a piece of that fake skin.
Yeah.
Blend it, yo.
But, we are, I mean, if you look at it, and this is, what I would say is a good comparison if you look at reality, is he loves Kim Jong-un, and he sure as hell is trying to be one because the way that the media treats Kim Jong-un and the way that Trump just wants everybody to fawn over him, and it's ridiculous.
He kind of looks like Kim Jong-un right now, but that's besides the point. Okay, so I wanted to point out, so he's getting increasingly crazy because I feel like they know that it's about to all blow up. I hope. But we're seeing the National Guard be deployed. So the military is now out in our streets. DC is now shut down. They're going to arm the National Guard now. For what? So they're picking up the homeless people. Where are they going?
Yeah. I mean, they're Alligator Alcatraz was ordered to shut down because of the conditions.
But then DeSantis came on and was like, actually, no, we don't follow rules here anymore. So thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah. And that's where everybody needs to look at. Nobody's following the law, and all these red states are going to do everything that Trump wants them to do. Why the hell is Mississippi sending National Guard troops to other states? That absolutely should not be happening.
Like, Mississippi has a way higher fucking murder rate. Like, worry about yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Seriously.
but no, it's not. It's all part of the operation, and literally, and I hate to say it, but that we're heading towards a civil conflict. That's how I'll say
know.
It, that is going to be much different than North and South.
I know.
It was North and South before. But what is it now?
Yeah. Now it's like zigzag puzzle piece. So Missouri, actually, they're going to call a special session to redistrict and get rid, because we have two districts, 2 Dem districts and 6 Republican ones, and they're going to try and cut us out of that one. And Mike Kehoe is just a lapdog to, and it's just like, you can't cheat. You can't win, so you got to cheat even more than you already do be cheating. So I don't.
Well, and we as just regular civilians need to kind of look beyond all of these actions, because we've got Newsom is going to hopefully do the same thing to help protect that balance of power.
In a legal way, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a daddy. God, yes.
Yeah. And, I still don't get the Guilfoyle thing, though. But anyway, I digress. Him being married to Guilfoyle. And then...
lots of questions about that.
You've got, we've got a number of states that are going to counter that. But the reality is what is going to happen at the next election in 2026? That's the issue. They're talking about having ICE oversee the polling stations. He's trying to do all this stuff with mail-in votes and, literally take votes away from our overseas military. There's so much stuff going on that even when the election happens and we are able to gerrymander our way to some sort of balance, do you think any of it's going to be accepted?
No.
No. Trump is not going to lose his power in Congress. He's already got SCOTUS. And, and this goes back to the checks and balances, which is what literally our Constitution is about. So when I've got somebody attacking me saying I'm talking about realistic things and how we deal with them in the future, and that somebody's working with the worst of the worst, who I've already listed, I'm onto something. Damn straight.
100%. Yes, you are, and keep digging. We'll work our day jobs and do this shit at night because we actually read books and stuff. Okay, question. I want to talk about John Bolton.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm sure he's got that Muppet-looking dude has got some skeletons in his closet. Oh. Okay, but I just want to tell you that I have a MAGA person that I argue with all the time, and I had some screenshots of when Trump, because I'm noticing that they're saying that all these classified documents are in Bolton's house, and that's so bad, and he's a treasonous person now, which really weird because I didn't feel the same when it was in Mar-a-Lago. Okay. So I sent him screenshots of the Mar-a-Lago photos, and I said, did you see what they found in John Bolton's house? And he was like, oh my God, no, I didn't. What the hell? Tell me more. And I was, awesome. And I know, and I just left it at that. But
I'm going to post that if you don't mind. I'm actually going to do that.
Absolutely. Feel free.
Hell yeah. Oh God, yes, please.
I'm going to post it. Well, and the one thing I always kind of thought in my mind when Trump was talking about, classified documents and all these other people having them in the past leading up to the, election and all this other stuff is I figured he would definitely weaponize things in a way that he's able to go after his enemies, which, Kash Patel's enemy list I posted the other day but I also posted the same one from Art Inclusion, which was posted around the same time too, which almost is the exact same list. And, but one of the things I feel is he went after Bolton because Bolton, 1, was an easy target, and 2 was a Republican that many Democrats don't like. So, so I think it was one of the best options of people that was going to cause the least amount of pushback, because on our side of things, we're like, well, Bolton's always been a piece of shit anyway. And on their side of things,
hate that for him.
Go get
Too bad.
Bolton.
Revenge tour.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if they try to do the same to somebody like, Obama or Hillary, it's definitely going to cause a whole different effect. I think everybody's like, Bolton, look at that Muppet. Nobody ever really likes him
Guantanamo
anyway.
Bay, like he's a piece of shit for sure.
Well, and the way things are happening with the FBI right now, like with Bailey, Andrew Bailey, who's the Attorney General
from
Missouri.
Okay,
yeah, we're going to talk
such
about
a piece
that.
Of shit. Oh God.
But like for people that are interested in that, there's a podcast called Unjustified. It's one of Allison Gill's MSW Media with Andy McCabe, who is a former, FBI individual. They were talking in detail about it, and it's really interesting if anybody wants to learn more about it. But just like we were talking about, that's just another institution that's just falling and caving right now.
Well, all of our
we have intimate knowledge of Andrew Bailey here, and we call him Andrew Faley because he literally has brought like 90 lawsuits as the Attorney General and lost every motherfucking one. So he's just been wasting our money, like culture warring everything, terrorizing trans people.
Talk about failing up,
Yes, seriously. So we're actually really glad that he's fucking gone, and we're happy that at least we know that he will get nothing done in the FBI, positive or negative.
And this is an example why, people in Illinois and people in California need to pay attention and worry about what's going on in, Project 2025 states like Missouri, because there comes a time when the balance gets strong enough that now it's the whole country's problem instead of just ours.
Well, and
congratulations.
You look at who's the U.S. attorney in Nevada? That Segal. I forget her name, but her account got suspended recently, but then I think she created another account. She ended up in one of my comments lines, but we don't know if it was a real account. And then she deleted everything she had said. But she's like, she is actually Israeli born. She was appointed to an acting appointment by Trump in Nevada for the attorney general position or whatever the federal one is there.
Is that how that sex guy got off?
Yes. And yes. And that Israeli diplomat with a
cybersecurity guy.
Russian last name, Alexandrovich, Tom or Tim Alexandrovich, was sent off to Israel rather than being held accountable for child pornography in Nevada. And she was
trying to procure that 15-year-old girl and take her to Cirque du Soleil. What a date for a child.
And she was, but this lady was trying to blame the liberal DA or something. But, the buck stops with her in Nevada. And then she said, well, the state was going after it, so the federal government decided not to pursue any charges. We'll let the state handle it. But it's obvious, somebody was involved.
They let him run back to Israel.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, that in itself, in the middle of this Epstein cover-up and everything else, should be enough for people to say what is truly going on. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole Israel, Hamas, and Gaza stuff.
Yeah,
this is enough. That's just insane what's going on over there. And, I will support the people of Israel. And Netanyahu is a piece of shit and a criminal that needs to be in jail. And I will support the Palestinians. But Hamas needs to be held accountable.
Yeah. I think it's hard to disagree with any of that, right? No matter.
I disagree with extremism.
Yes, exactly.
Fair.
And, when you were talking earlier, I wanted to bring up when you were talking earlier about, flooding the zone with everything and everybody just was so, divided and split and, this woke and all this other stuff. And I mean, that's been the whole tactic the whole time, is find every way to divide us. If the sky is blue to you, it's gray to me, and I want you to argue over it,
Right.
And Cracker Barrel is just another example.
Oh my God, I was just going to talk about that. I kind of want to go out to eat there now today.
Meanwhile, the billionaires are looting. Yeah.
But these culture wars and everything.
On good pancakes. Like Cracker Barrel pancakes.
It's all, it's all blown out of proportion just to keep us distracted and divided. But
absolutely,
the ultimate goal, and it talked about this in the IRA indictments, which is the Internet Research Agency that was run by Putin Chef,
Yes.
Yevgeny Prigozhin,
Mm-hmm.
who was blown up out of the sky
Yeah.
after
Yes.
he
Yeah.
tried to
Yes.
attempt
Yep.
a coup in Russia.
And surprised absolutely no one when that happened.
Yeah.
But
And he was, in charge of the Wagner Group, which was a big
Yep.
part of what's
Who
happening
went
in
over
Africa.
tried to coup. Didn't they try to coup
Yeah,
over
they tried to
Putin?
coup.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's when he died, right?
Yep, and then he
Died.
mysteriously died after they came to an agreement. But
Yeah.
Prigozhin was the one in charge of the Internet Research Agency, and one of the things that's discussed in the indictment was their attempt at just turning the top 5% at both ends of the scale extreme. That's all they needed to do. If you get extreme progressives on one end of the scale to scream and shout, and you get the extreme right wings. And if you just capture 5% of them, everything else falls into place. You just need 5%.
That's what the algorithm catches because
Yep.
it's clickbait
Yep.
and then it's rage bait, and then that's how we're here, and that's why we think that everybody's extreme and you hate everybody when you walk outside because you're like, you look like you're on a list too, and then we're all mad at each other.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, fast forward 50 years and just the way that this time in history is going to be studied and how we were manipulated and,
It's crazy because I started going to therapy right before COVID started, and I started going because I'm a germaphobe. Okay, I have a little OCD in the germaphobe department, and it was before COVID even started. Thank God I found him before COVID started, right? And so I'm talking, I'm like, man, I just need to get over my OCD about this, and also I'm really afraid of like concentration camps. This was in 2018.
girl.
And so I had to text him probably like 6 months ago. And I was like, I don't text him outside of my set. Like, we're not like that. But I was like, hey, remember when I first came to therapy because I was afraid of concentration camps and fucking germs? And he was like, yeah, that's a little weird, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you guys want any more predictions from me? Okay. Anything else I'm low level having anxiety about?
Well, I think you're right on. I think, even with COVID, I was an extremist when it came to what happened when COVID first hit. I was like, I don't know what the heck's going on here. And I was working, and I remember on February 1st, I went to Target and I bought a bunch of sanitation stuff. And I was like, I went to work because I was the boss, and I said, we're going to just start wiping everything down because a lot of people touch this stuff, and there's something going on in China right now. I just remember saying that, and my entire staff, I had about 50 people working for me at the time, I think thought I was crazy, but I'm like,
that's exactly what happened to me.
I
was like, no, I'm watching this go country to country. I remember,
I'm not a very emotional person, but I remember driving to work one day and just like crying in the car for about 90 seconds and thinking, well, I'm going to die. It's just the way it's going to be. I've had a good life and I'm okay. I guess I'll die now.
Well, the sheer amount of people that we're face to face with, like you are in clinic and stuff, I am so thankful I worked in the operating room during that time because everybody has to wear a mask regardless.
Well, and the attacks on, the science alone,
my God.
mRNA right now is truly miraculous. I mean, we're looking at cancer about surviving, or about
the glioblastoma.
Cancer with mRNA, which is the same stuff that helped with COVID, and they're attacking it, saying that's what's causing all this. No, you're having a fucking heart attack because you had COVID 6 times.
Yes, literally.
This attack on science across the board is just tragic. It's absolutely tragic.
And education.
I mean, this is what the Nazis did. Like, is it too late for people to read a?
We can deep dive into.
Funny. My dad actually gave me a book the other day. He got it at a Goodwill, I think. We do a lot of Goodwill shopping and stuff. And
me too. I love it.
He found a book of famous speeches that he was proud of me being on your show. He listened to it.
That's so wonderful.
So amazing.
So let's say hi to my dad because I'm sure he'll listen to it again.
Hey, Dad.
Shout out, Dad.
And But he gave me this thing of speeches, and I'm going to start going through it, all the big speeches from everybody you can think of. And
Yeah.
but it's interesting that we've come to a world where people do not want to pay attention to literal history that shows us exactly where we're headed right
Yeah.
now.
Well,
Exactly
that's my
where we're
question for you that maybe we could talk about next time, because I'm sure it'll take a while, is that, when you do what you do and you connect dots and you bring things together from a bigger picture. And in doing that, we create patterns and we create a trend or a line. And I'm curious where you see this going. Like, of course, you can't predict the future. None of us can. But if you had to guess how this is all going to play out, I wonder what you think we have in store for us in the next months.
I'm not, I was accused of being a defeatist on my old account once by a very high profile left account that speaks a lot of hopium and whatnot, which we've discussed.
I think before. I know exactly who you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. And the thing I said specifically was I'm a realist, and the thing is there's no one actually who has the power to do anything that's actually doing anything right now, other than we've got a couple governors that are holding their ground, but that's all they're doing is holding their ground. We have no coordinated group of professional individuals that are putting together a plan for us to counter this, other than using these legal things that are all out there for us that are being countered and ignored, which we discussed earlier. Really, it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And it's unfortunate that I think we're well past the point of no return on the worst part.
Right.
And
Yeah.
It's the same thing as climate change. Remember it used to be 1.5 Celsius, increase in temperature.
Like, we're there.
Right now they're like, okay, 2, Yeah. And we see what's happening where people are getting 20 inches of rain overnight, and, and nobody wants to connect the dots and all of that stuff. We've got a lot of volcanic activity going on right now around the world, and,
it's because they would have to change what they're doing on a daily basis, and people are fucking lazy.
You're absolutely,
and they're scared.
That, and again, if you follow the money, right? We can't. If we live in a world where oil isn't a huge thing, then there's a lot of important people that won't be making the billions of dollars they are. So that obviously for them.
But where are you going to spend the billions of dollars when you ruin the Earth? I guess we are going to Mars. You're right.
I truly think they don't care beyond their lifespan.
No,
because I've thought about this a lot. Like, how can you do that to your grandkids? They don't care.
They don't. And I think there's this mentality of, we'll either use the apocalyptic, versions in the Bible to get away with what we're doing because they've captured.
I see that so much. God, we're all going to die soon anyway, so I'm going to be a pedophile.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Cool.
When you look, I tell my nieces all the time, I'll be long gone, and they'll still be trying to figure out what the fuck happened during this time frame, and still be discovering things that are going to be abominations that people are going to be like, I can't believe they got away with that. No, I believe they're getting away with it.
The other thing is that the ultra rich folks, I've seen reporting that I think is accurate, that they're building contingency plans, bunkers and shit like that. I don't know who they think is going to service them when, shit goes down. Or trying to, like Elon Musk was trying to get to Mars, which again is not going to happen in the foreseeable future. But I just feel like the ultra rich think that they have access to resources that will save them when everything goes down, whether it's climate change or the fall of United States democracy or whatever. And, the rest of us can just fuck off, I guess.
Well, no. And that, I just posted something again today that was very wordy screenshot talking about, the tech oligarchs and the theocracy and the
it doesn't seem like a fun world.
Yeah. And how they're just, planning on building their own cities that are going to basically, we will be the slaves to producing for them, servicing.
Yeah.
And, it's not as unrealistic as it may seem. You look at Saudi Arabia doing that, is it Noam or something, where it's the line, they call it, in Saudi Arabia.
I haven't read about that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to.
Like multi-billion-dollar city that's in the middle of the desert going across several miles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
and
seen
Okay.
that. Yeah.
and it's going to be somewhat of a self-sustaining city in the desert that's
Yeah.
mirrored. Look it up; you'll be interested.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
but
That
you've
sounds
got a
like
lot of these
Yeah.
tech things, and honestly, I mean, if only we lived in a world where everybody just wanted to do the right thing from the beginning when we started to
Right.
advance in technology, we would live in a different world completely.
For sure. And I actually read Atlas Shrugged because I wanted to know what it said. It's a long ass book, by the way. Like, the whole thing is this paradise city in the Colorado mountains that nobody can get to unless you're taken there or whatever. You know what? That type of a situation will only function if everybody that lives there is ethical and morally sound. Well, good luck. Good luck, you, all these, rats in a bag stabbing each other in the back. Good luck
Yeah,
with
you
your
guys
utopia. I don't think
They're going
that's
to make
going to
their
happen.
own apocalypse. They're going to make their own apocalypse.
And they are. I mean, they will.
I know.
They're follow beyond themselves. But one thing with that too is, let's bring up the fact that Bill Barr's dad, Donald Barr, who hired Jeffrey Epstein to work for Dalton School of Girls
rapey book.
as a
Right.
teacher, wrote a book that basically called Space Relations, which basically talked about a planet of oligarchs that had child sex slaves. I mean, literally, when you look at it in Wikipedia, it actually
it's nasty.
mentions that it almost foresees what Epstein and Ghislaine were up to.
Like
That's
the
so gross.
framework. Well,
Absolutely
and you're talking
gross.
about those oligarch cities. That's what St. James Island was. Like little St. James, essentially. Like a private island sex factory with children.
And, I was talking about Zampoli earlier and taking a bunch of pictures. In 2022, I found a picture of him with Nayib Bukele, the president
Oh, yes. I
of El
saw
Salvador. At the same time, one of his big things in that country is Bitcoin, the use of Bitcoin. They actually have a functioning economy around Bitcoin right now. And in certain cities, they only take, they have vendors on the street that actually take Bitcoin as payment. It's far more advanced than, what a lot of other countries are.
Right.
Bitcoin. There's a picture of Zampoli with him, but also I think it was Konstantin Rykov right around that same time frame was talking about Bitcoin too. And
then what's the guy that Elon was friends with that was the Bitcoin guy?
Oh, Satomi, the guy who supposedly created Bitcoin, is Nakamoto. Satoshi Nakamoto, who's this mysterious figure he's the supposed original Bitcoin person. And I posted some stuff yesterday showing some pictures of somebody who could be that individual. Who's still mysteriously unknown. My guess is he may have been involved when the picture you see was when they were both very young. They were probably college age at the time. He's often mistaken as Elon's actual roommate, who was an Arab guy, when that's not who it was. It was an Asian guy who we believe is the Satoshi Nakamoto. But I think there's a possibility that Elon was able to procure whatever had happened. Again, could be conspiracy speaking, but when you actually look into it, Elon may have control of Bitcoin from the beginning, which would align with all of the power he's been given as it is, all the subsidies and where he's been put into place. I haven't written threads on Elon specifically. There's a few people I really need to. Peter Thiel's another one I need to talk about because,
that's how to get kicked off again, though.
Yeah,
that's how to get your account. Yeah.
He had a lover who committed suicide, but it was never investigated recently. And there's a whole lot more on Peter Thiel that people need to completely understand and where we're at now, considering the power he has over J.D. Vance. Because if Trump is going to die soon, Trump is even talking about his own death. So,
he's not.
To that.
When
so
patients do that, it ain't good.
This is not a threat at all, Allison.
Yes. Allison, no threats.
If something were to happen to Donald Trump, which I would prefer, he lives to 100 in a solitary confinement jail cell.
Yeah, that'd be all right with me too.
Yeah, I would be perfectly fine with that, and we'd be allowed to go piss over the cell.
Yeah.
if given the possibility.
Yep.
Go tell the Secret Service about that, Allison.
Sorry. Free speech, baby.
Hey, yeah, we're all about
But,
peace and love here at the Well, We Still Can
And
podcast.
Yeah, there's just so much out there that people just aren't paying attention to. So when I put together my threads, it's all publicly available information. It's really hard to dispute the stuff that I put out there. I challenge people all the time. Please debunk me.
And they don't.
Right.
Nobody
Yeah,
ever
you're
does.
like,
I have
what
no-
am I missing? How is this wrong? Because
I have
most of
zero
it, we don't.
community notes on anything I had ever written.
When we discuss these things, my God, I wish we were wrong. Because okay, well, we
Stranger
better
than
wrap it
fiction.
up for today. Stranger, amen to that. We so hope you'll come back again at some point and have another conversation.
Yeah. Well,
These are so fun. I
mean,
love to talk about this stuff.
the faster everyone snaps the fuck out of it, the faster we can pull the Band-Aid off and fix it.
Yep.
And that's all I want. I just want everyone to be okay. That is literally it.
We're all Americans.
That's
I work with red
So many.
people, and I don't have anything against any of them. Don't be an asshole. Don't treat me like shit. Don't treat me any different than anybody else. And
Well,
I'm
it's
not,
the tolerance thing. They say that we're not tolerant. I am intolerant to intolerance. That's it.
Exactly.
That is it.
So-
I don't see how that's
so
that
thank
hard
you
to
again.
understand.
This is great. I love talking to you, ladies.
Thank you.
Because this is
Yes,
Yeah.
I love
Thank
it.
you so much.
doing all this.
Well, I hope you have a great Saturday or Sunday, whatever the day of the week it is. Doesn't even matter anymore. And we'll be in touch.
All right, everybody,
Okay.
have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. And have a lovely week. And thanks for listening to the While We Still Can pod. Peace.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.